sec. Yep, we are live. It's good to say that again after, what is it, 4 months, 5 months?
Feels like an eternity.
Well, we recorded one podcast, but the video didn't work out.
Yeah.
So we had to throw that one away, so that kind of sucked. And we kind of took a break from the podcast. We were both busy, for me at least. I graduated from my university for my bachelor, so which is pretty fucking awesome. And just focusing on myself and music, going through some struggles, which is part of life. So kind of backing away from, this is not our dominant thing anyway. It's just something we do on the side. So it was really actually good to take a break and now to be back at it. And I think the same for you. You're really busy with schooling.
Yep. Yeah, man. Like it really kind of was picture perfect time, if you ask me. Like, even though that last podcast we didn't get to upload it, it may have been meant to be, just because like these times, like you said, you were busy, I was busy. Then I think too, like, we were both kind of working ourselves to death, for a minute there, and then with Corona and everything going on, like it was just good to take a break, and now we're back, and it's like I missed it, So give me that perspective.
Me too.
I
was saying to you before we started the podcast, like I also missed the conversation because we've been talking less as well for the last few months, so it's fun to have that back as well.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. I think these things are so important, man. Like they really, at least for me, man, like I always get to peel back and like get a different perspective of life when I speak to you or anybody else for that matter. So that's why I enjoy our conversations in particular. It's always a unique perspective that you bring to the table.
And most of the time we do agree, though, or we're already in the same line. More often than we disagree, but still nice to hear a story, or especially when you can relate, right?
Totally. And just coming from different parts of the world. I think that's the big one for me. Like when I speak to you sometimes it's just like a slightly different perspective that I would have. And it's all about the culture you grew up in and where you live exactly. And whatnot. And that's a really cool
context.
Thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's funny because we've never met. We've mentioned this in our previous podcast as well. But I remember in school, at my bachelor, we had a lot of management tasks we had to do. So we had to draw a circle with our people that are close to us in our life. So I draw like my best friends and my brother, and I put you there as well. And I was like, wait, what? Really? I never met you, but I'm still putting you in this.
Right
so
on.
That was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that's way cool, dude. Yeah, like I'd imagine that a lot of people are in our shoes these days, at least the younger generation, right? Like most of it's on the internet now, and a lot of people haven't met face to face. So it's kind of like the new norm in a way, It doesn't feel weird to me, at least. I don't know about you.
No, me neither. Because it kind of grew natural as well. It wasn't like the first time we talked, we immediately did a podcast or went into depth about personal stuff, but it grew. Like I bought a beat and then you did some mixes for me and we started working together, and that's how it kind of grew. And we talked about fitness for the first time. So
mm-hmm. Like the slow drip of building, it works in all aspects of life. And,
exactly.
Really... Go ahead.
I had the same thing with my brother-in-law. Like, I can remember when he kind of joined the family, like that transition of him getting to know us. I just remember him being here. Same with my sister-in-law, or even when I went to the gym 4 years ago, where I'm working right now. Like, I don't realize when I got there, I was there all my life for the feeling. That's really weird. But
yeah, that is, man. That is. I think, like, at least for me, the only thing I wish we had is like we could go work out together and like be in the studio together.
Yeah,
like that's the
great.
Only thing that I don't like about it. Like I think about it a lot, man. Like when I'm working out by myself and whatnot, I'd be like, it would be really cool to call you, be like, hey, let's go do some lifts and hang out, And so that's that part of it I don't like, but
exactly. Or I have a cool beat ID and let's hop into the studio.
Exactly, dude. Yeah, it would be so much better if we had that ability.
Cannot wait to come over, though. Somewhere, I don't know when, but soon.
It's coming.
Hopefully.
Like, especially with, who knows, with the corona and vaccine thing going on. Like, I think that, at least for now, like, that's the tricky part to get around, right? I don't even know what the travel guidelines are, like if you could go out of the country or, like, I don't know.
Me neither. I'd stay away from the news, especially in corona time. Like,
yeah, me too.
It's just negative bull crap in my hat anyway.
A lot of it's propaganda crap. It is, man.
I'd rather, like, instead of hearing how many people got killed or got taken to the hospital every day, like, just focus 3 minutes on the news on how to improve your health or how to avoid this. Like if it would put that intention there instead of like the statistics and scare us, like that will be way more beneficial for everyone.
I get so frustrated with that. Like I feel the exact same way as you. Like let's give like more positive information to people's minds. Like it makes it seem like the world is burning down, and it's not. You know, it really does. Like when you get on the news, it's a very negative thing. Actually, like because my wife, she got a new job, started last week. Shout out to her. That was a hard journey for her, and she got it, so I'm proud of her. But she might be traveling, and we looked it up for like at least inside the country, and she's allowed to. But like I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, if they're going to allow people to like continue to travel around the world and this thing's still live, like I just don't think that that's a good idea either. It's just really weird how they like put this stuff out. You know, like it feels like at least the guidance from, you know, our leaders are like, it's misguided. You know, they're ready, shoot, aim type of thing. They're not really like planning stuff out. It's just like grabbing for shit. At least it seems like right now.
It's kind of treating the symptoms just like when you're sick. That's kind of what we're trying to do right now. Like I'm not anti-vaccination or anything, but is it the long-term solution? I don't know. What I do know is that there are a lot of old diseases trapped under the ice and that's melting and coming our way. So this is not going to be our last virus or health crisis we're going to have globally. I think it's just a start. And like that happens, it's life. But how are we going to deal with that in the long run? What I would have expected, I understand that the vaccine was the priority in the beginning, but now it's almost 2 years and we're still hearing nothing about mental health, eating, working out. I'm like, what's the long-term goal? And then I realized it's actually the same thing with healthcare. Like we put someone on a medicine. 1 in 16 people in the Netherlands here takes antidepressants, which helps the symptoms, but again, not the cost. It's kind of the same thing how we deal with this globally, which is kind of crazy.
You know, I've had a deep realization about this subject, at least especially in these past couple of months. And like, this is what I think about. When it comes to health, we should be going and getting our advice from personal trainers, nutritionists, physical therapists, these type of people. When it comes to like surgeries and like cancer and like, you know, like really, really like those are broken bones, you know, those type of things, we should be going to the hospital and going to the doctors. These two subjects are completely separate from each other. And like, at least for in our country, like in the United States, doctors aren't that good with health at all. Like they just give you pills. You know, they don't give you solutions, long-term solutions. These are like temporary fixes. And I think that like we should be talking far more about like drinking more water, less soda, less alcohol, you know, more vegetables, less meat, no fast food. Like the simple stuff, like get better sleep, think better, you know, get outside, be happier, you know, like try to find a purpose in life. These type of things will make you super healthy. Literally will double your life, you know, and like we just don't talk about these things. I think it's very, very curious. And that's why I really understood at like a deep level, like when it comes, if you want to get healthy, go to a personal trainer, go to a nutritionist, go to a physical therapist. These people will get you to move right, eat right, sleep right, think right. You know, that's how you get healthy. Like the doctors are there for like when we got broken bones and things that are like, this is an emergency. You got to get it fixed now type of thing. You know, I don't think they're the best for health.
And especially the crossover. If you could combine the two, you're going to have a steady base. Like take a piece of the puzzle from every part. Exactly. And the hard thing is, we don't have the time to figure it out all by ourselves. You know how hard it is to decide or figure out. Kind of have to trust on authorities in some way. Of course, in some parts and areas we can figure out on our own, but most of the part I rely on authority as well. Like everybody kind of does. So it's also hard to what to believe and what to take in to complete this healthy lifestyle, you know?
Yeah, man, like that's why I say like slow drip, because like just what you're saying, like it's impossible to learn it all because it's a slow drip. It takes a long time to like really feed your brain with it. And then next, like I was my own guinea pig. Like I found how to fix myself, but this took me so long. So I get it. Like I think that like it's very confusing for a person that doesn't know where to start. And that's why it's unfortunate. I think that we all believe that like the doctor's the best way to go. You know, we go to the doctor, he'll get me healthy, she'll get me healthy. But in reality, like that's not what they do. You know, they're there to treat symptoms. And so like if you think about it, like a personal trainer or nutritionist, obviously that's what they focus their entire life around is health and how to be healthy, how to live healthy, how to think healthy. So for me, I was like, these are the people who should be the face of our health. I think of, I don't know if you follow Jeff Cavalier, Athlete X.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah,
Dude, like
sometimes yeah.
He should be like the world leader in pain management. I'm not kidding. Like this guy is so good at pinpointing where your problems are in your body and how to fix it. And most of the time it's simple movements. It's just a slow process to get it back. So if you stay consistent, you do like whatever it is, we'll say 2 minutes of like, some sort of movement that like if your hips are hurting or something like that, do 2 minutes a day for a year, you'll probably get back there. But like he will give that advice instead of like, go see a hip surgeon and then, cut you open. And actually he talks a lot about how that's really bad advice. Like most of the time we can fix ourselves. There's things out there you can't, where the doctor has to step in. But like most of the pains and unhealthy things that we're dealing with, we think that it might be disease or virus or whatever. It's not. It's just a matter of your body. You're not treating it properly, and you just need to go a different direction and get healthier. He's just really good at that.
It's so true. It's true, and I, as a CrossFit coach, I see it in my gym a lot. There are bad gyms and CrossFit boxes where coaches are not paying attention, or people, their ego get involved and they go too heavy. Of course, it has a risk, CrossFit, I agree. But for the most part, when I see people getting injured, it's because their knee was already hurting, but they never moved their whole life. And then they start squatting and you're like, oh fuck, my knee hurts, so now I'm getting injured because of CrossFit. It's like, no, the pain and the lack of mobility and the lack of stability was already there, but now you're getting exposed to it because you never did anything with your body anyway. So,
And they neglected that pain for quite some time because that wasn't the first time they felt it, and so
exactly.
We want to equate it to like, oh, it was because I did a power clean or squat or something like that. But in reality, it's like you said, this was a slow drip of you being in bad posture for so long. That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Exactly, and then the squatting is not bad for your knee, but not able to squat is bad for your knee.
Exactly.
To turn it around.
And like you and I have talked about this, but like a lot of people don't realize this, that like you got knee problems that's probably in your feet and your ankles. Probably have weak ankles and weak feet that, that's the kinetic chain. When you follow the kinetic chain, you realize everything's connected. And if you have a collapsed arch, you're going to have a problem with probably the teardrop and ACL, MCL in your knee. Easy to tear meniscus. It happened to me, and like I realized like how weak my feet were. And still to this day, I have some really cool workouts that I do with my toes every day and things to like strengthen my arch and get that back. But like that fixed my knees. And then now my hip hinge is a little jacked up, which I've been talking to you about. And that's all following up the kinetic chain. Is just because like my feet were bad, which caused my knees to go bad, which caused my hips to go bad. And it just goes all the way up to my shoulders. But now that I'm realizing what the problem is, I'm like, oh, okay, I focus down here, fix it. In fact, it was like 2 weeks. Like I felt like some pretty serious progress. And so like just finding the problems, the source of the problem, that's it. But I think to myself, like, say if I went to go see a doctor, they're going to tell me like, oh, you definitely have ACL, and like a slight tear. And then the meniscus, which is always like, you could choose to get surgery or not. But they go right to the knee. They don't go to the feet at all, and like that's really was my problem is I had weak ankles and weak feet that I couldn't like. I had zero ankle flexion. And what do they call that? Dorsiflexion, I believe, in the foot.
I'm not sure.
It's something
the English
like that.
term is, but
where you go all the way up in your tippy toes.
Yeah.
And your feet your toes are completely spread out as far as you can, and then you push them down the ground, not curl. And so I think it's dorsiflexion, but like I had severe problems with both of those. And now that I feel it, I'm like, okay, I could strengthen it. So I've been strengthening it, focused on it. There's movements that I do. And my knees, man, I showed you, or you saw the squat the other day. Like, it was like, that was the first time I actually felt like power. Like I could feel strength there. It wasn't shaky and like, oop, I might tweak something there. So I feel it's all in my feet, man. It really is. Like I'm able to get the base of my foot all the way on the ground, spread my toes out, get a solid, stance. And like, that's what fixed me. And I've always thought it was my knees. So it's kind of a crazy thought that I'm sitting with.
And we're being patient as well. So you took your time to recover. And what I noticed as well, people who do yoga, their toes are like this all the time. Mm-hmm. So they're like spread out. So I knew a girl who does yoga and she got 2 centimeters bigger because of yoga. And if you see her feet, because she's constantly, not in her shoes, but balancing on her toes because, her shoes mess up her feet a lot we're in this weird position where toes get squeezed in basically. And that's why I love training bare feet, like especially light work. Of course, when I go heavier with the lift, I love to put on my lifters or whatever. But like light work or warm up, I was just put on my shoes and just walk how they were meant to be.
It's important. It really is. I don't think most people realize, but like our arch is like, it's a muscle and you can move it just like your hand. You know, it should be able to do this, not completely like the hand. You should be able to like bend your foot and do this with your mind. And like most people can't, man. It's way too stiff because it's just been locked in the shoe. And like that's like, man, dude, like it really is like the base. It's our foundation. It's everything.
Exactly.
You
You're
lose your
grounded
feet.
to the floor.
Yeah, you lose your feet, like nothing's gonna work right. And like the toes, dude, they're connected all the way to the top of your head. It's like all the tendons and everything is all connected to the top of your head, all the back of your neck. So you got like your big toe.
And our whole nervous system as well, actually.
Exactly. It is, man. Yeah, and like that big toe, like the big toe is so important. If it goes bad on you, like you're gonna have shoulder problems, like everything's gonna hurt. It really is. And it's all because of one toe.
Yeah, this at my personal training course, we had to do a hamstring stretch and then foam roll the ball of our foot, or with a tennis ball basically, like do it for 30 seconds, and afterwards your hamstrings were less tight. They will loosen up just because of targeting that specific nerve, which is pretty crazy. Same with the neck. Like if you lift up your neck, someone had to do a hamstring curl, and they couldn't lift it up, and then relax position, and they could lift up. So it kind of proves that the whole kinetic chain, nervous system, muscles, they go through throughout the whole body, which is pretty cool.
And that's a whole other like overlooked thing is the neck, man. Like I talked to you about it a lot too, but like that neutral neck. If you don't have a neutral neck when you're lifting, like you're in for a world of hurt eventually. It's coming for you, you know, because that's what it does. It like takes your spine and it bends it in ways it shouldn't, and you just can't. You're not in right posture, you know, and like those like little things. Those are the little details that a lot of people don't know.
And it makes you realize that everything in your body is connected, and it also zooms out on emotional or even your whole life, that everything works together and it's not just singularity, which is a cool concept as well.
Yeah, man, like it really is. Like it all has to come together because like there's the kinetic chain, but we also have like connective tissue, which is like, you know, it's literally like wrapped around our body. You could think of like a plastic bag would just squeeze over you, and that right there is like how you stretch. And that stuff gets real tight too. So you got the kinetic chain, which is like all your muscles and tendons and everything interlinked. And then you have the tissue, connective tissue, which that's where I think that like surgeries get real tricky, because when you cut that, when it's tight, how can it loosen up again? Like you really just cause major problems. I don't know if you could ever get back. You know,
true.
That needs to be stretched out over time to like get better. Like you can't just cut it open and then like that's why surgeries are like usually not good, you know, and there's times where you don't have a choice, but like, you know, like not saying that they're all bad, but like usually we could avoid it, you know, and it just like, I don't know, a matter of taking the pain and understanding what exactly to do to get out of whatever you're in, you know, whatever injury it is.
Yeah, and we want the fast fix, like we want the pill that fixes us. So I never used to stretch at all, like from when I was young until I don't know, 15, 16, I never did one stretch in my life. And I played a lot of soccer. Like when I bent over, I could like barely go over my knees with my hands. And now I'm like 5 years later, I'm still struggling with those stretches because it takes time. Like all these years I've been doing nothing. Like, and if you have an injury or something hurts, yeah, it's like an easy fix to get a surgery, but you just need to be patient with it. And over time, you will get more stable or more mobile, which is kind of the goal. So it's also a fact of being patient.
Yeah, it's that slow drip. And, you know, dude, like, because, like, lifting weights to me is, like, it's not much of a slow drip. You usually experience, like, within a month of, like, you know, you're lifting a little more, or you might see a little muscle on you. Stretching's not like that. It's like...
no, not at all.
No, dude, it's like 9 months of, like, pure suck, and then you get, like, a fucking millimeter. You know? It's like... This,
centimeter,
really?
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, dude, it's like this tiny little movement.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, like, stretching, it's tough. It's, like, one of the toughest things to do. You know, like...
Yeah, man.
Because, like, when I, you know, I'm, like, really, really into stretching. I do a lot of it. But there's, like, 3 steps to stretching. And, in fact, you said it. But, like, there's flexibility, there's mobility, and then there's stability. And, like, all these things need to be managed properly, too. And it's like you said, man, like, there's so much to, like, understand and in anything about your body that like, you got lifting, which is one aspect, but then the flexibility, mobility, stability part, like that is such an important piece to it. And like, I didn't really understand stability. Like I always understood flexibility, mobility. I didn't understand stability until like recently. And that was because like my feet, now I'm starting to really get like what I got to do with my feet to be stable in like heavy lifts and how important that is. Like, and it has everything to do with your neck, your shoulder blades, like everything of where you're positioned, and if you're wobbling and you're just slightly off the bar path, like you're in for a world of hurt in the future. You keep doing that, like over time, these compounds, and you're going to break something, and like stability, like that was a big piece that I was missing. And, I did the flexibility, the mobility part, but the stability, I just didn't like focus on it like I should have.
Me too, especially for the lower back. I was starting to get more flexible, but then when you do a deadlift and add weight, there's a new component to it, and it's hard to keep that posture. So I've been doing a lot of GHD, we kind of do back extension and really. So actually, I started more doing stability instead of mobility, and that's kind of how I worked out my lower back problems, or not problem, but just a bit of stiffness. So you think stiffness is going to stretch? No, stiffness. I need to work the muscle
Stabilize
harder.
It. Yep, exactly, man. Yeah, and you got to put it under tension, get it to shake. Like that's really what it's all about. Like those stability workouts, I think, are like game changers if you don't have them. If you're an athlete or you're just into fitness, you're not doing stability work, you should start right away, because like that, I think, like just what you said, like I was doing the same things. I do because you're doing the one where you do the torso, right? So like your legs are back here, torso's going down and up, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do the other way where I'm like my legs. I've been doing that one where my legs are doing it.
Oh yeah.
And then I try to sit where I'm just sitting on my chest, and I spread myself out where I'm just at like a kind of teeter-totter deal, and just hold and stabilize myself. Oh man, like it really does. Like there's those like mid back posterior muscles. That's what we need for the deadlift. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when what you said, reach your arm, because then you have weight outside of your body mass, like your center. That's going to make it even harder. So I've been doing that with back extension as well. Like you do a back extension, but then you stretch your arms. You're going to move weight to the side, so it's even harder to stabilize it.
Yeah, you get all just shaking like a leaf, right? I think
exactly.
That's like where like the magic happens, is in that shaking, because you're like putting that muscle under tension, and once it's shaking, like that's where it really like loosens it up. At least that's how I feel it in my body. I don't know if you feel that.
Yeah, for sure.
I do. Do you get carries at all?
Yeah. Like kettlebell carries, farmer carries, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great. Like
because that's also stabilizing when external things change, like movement, or even with weightlifting, when you catch it in a snatch, people start hitting the barbell with their hands just to kind of see if you can be stable while an external force is pushing you over.
Yeah, those are good ones too, man. Like pushing you while you're in the weight and you have to hold it and stabilize. Yeah, it's really
exactly.
Good.
Because when you're doing like a chest fly in a machine, it's constant force all the same time. But when you're trip on your bike, it's going to be different every time. So you need to learn how to deal with that, be stable in that different context when you need to anticipate on, I don't know, like an accident or anything. Instead of like a cable fly, it's going to be the same every time.
Yeah. You see that thing going around on the internet where they're talking about like maturing in fitness, and then they'll put their 2 cents in. Have you seen this?
No, not at all.
So my example was like maturing in fitness is letting go of the muscle, the weight, the looks, and starting to realize that it's more about the movements and performance and health. There's a lot of people out there that like people that would joke with that, but like I was really thinking about that, because that's what's happened to me is like when I started training like an athlete, now I'm strong. Now I'm like feel good. You know what I mean? When I used to train like a weightlifter, like I was like my body getting all stiff, wasn't really feeling that good, and I blame myself completely. I was like not doing the stability movements and all the things that I should have. But like that's what I think most people do, is they think like I'm gonna go in, I want bigger biceps, I want like to look better and all these things. And like to me, I'm like, that's always the wrong goals. It's not about like how much you squat. It's like how do you squat. It's not about how you get the big arms. It's about how do you get healthy. All these things are a byproduct of that. So if when I reversed my mindset, I start to train like an athlete. I start to do cross-lateral movements and push myself in different performance areas. Like that's when the true strength came. It's not the looks of like, me looking all big. It's really like the fact of like doing it like especially what you're talking about, man, like being able to hold weight under, someone pushing you and you could stay stabilized, because that's like true life. You're mimicking life now.
Exactly, like getting ready for external pushback.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's what we deal with all day long, right? Like, you're trying to open up a door, like it's fucking pushing back on you all the time. Like it's not perfectly stable, Lisa has a handle, but like it's not stable.
Or even as a metaphor, not even physical, but sometimes you get smacked in the face with life. Like you need to learn how to deal with that pushback as well.
It's true, dude. And like fitness does teach you that. Like, a lot of people don't realize it, but it does. It teaches you how to get through like hard shit. Because when you get through hard lifts and you are able to like finally get that clean or whatever you're working for, and put that in your head, you just lift the weights in your mind. Now you're going to be able to bring that in real life and be stronger through some hard shit. Like, I already dealt with something harder than this. Like, this is easy. That's what it kind of teaches.
Exactly. Yeah. True. Focus on goals, how to deal with setbacks and all that stuff. And what I did like when you were talking about your ACL and your surgery, I wanted to go back on that. That you said, like, I'm not anti-doctor. That's often what we get when someone says, like, being critical, like, oh, you only believe in this or you only believe in that. Like, you don't have to pick sides. You can just be critical. And it's the same with the vaccination. I don't know. I saw this person on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was like, he got vaccinated and then he got like, I don't know, his neck was all stiff, and he tweeted about it, and everybody was hating on him, like, you're anti-vaccination. I was like, I just got vaccinated. How am I anti-vaccination? I just want to get it out so we can improve it and make it better. But we tend to push each other in like left, right, or you're in this area or this area, and it's like now a fight against each other instead of like, hey, we can agree on some stuff, and in that way we can make it better instead of like, it doesn't make sense to me. And it's the same with this doctor stuff. That's why I love Joe Dispenza. He's really into meditation, and he can help people with Parkinson's disease, which is irregulation in dopamine. And he can fix that with meditation, really teach people that. But he's not saying that doctors are bad or anything. There is just a crossover of both things. So that's the cool thing. You can have both sides without having this polarization or weird fight.
Yeah, man. Like, you actually said it really well to me one day. You said that Western and Eastern medicine could live side by side together. And I embraced that. When you said that to me, like, I really understood it. Because that's when I realized that, like, our doctors are here for a reason. Like, we really need them. Scientists are here. These are amazing thinkers of the world. Like, they really have, like, made the world a better place. However, when you get into, like, the biased opinion and you stay stuck on that one side, you're missing a whole other piece to it. And that's what I realized, is that, like, I don't want to stay just all the way on Western or Eastern medicine or any of that. Like, I want to get all of the knowledge, put it into one pot, and then I piece apart what works best for me. And when you do that, you realize that, like, meditation and these type of things are massively beneficial for you. You know, it's not as quacky or crazy as people think it is. It's really, really not. And, like, especially the ones, like, I've listened to that podcast and that guy talking about it, like, it's really ridiculous how people have, like, gone to these, like, anti-vaxxer things, you know, because I'm far from, I've gotten every vaccine that they've ever put out, you know, and so, like, I am far from an anti-vaxxer at all, but I'm deep into my health, so I'm concerned with what I put into my body. So when I go out and hear information like what this guy's saying, I'm like, well, I'm gonna hold off until, like, these, you know, side effects and things are, like, worked through, you know, because, like, usually vaccinations go through a trial period and they already worked through this stuff. At least the ones that I've taken, you know, this one is not. And so
it's not approved, no.
Yeah, not at all. And, like, the whole thing is like, if you're healthy, man, like, you're going to be able to pass through it. Like, you'll be okay. And, like, I would much rather focus in on my health than, you know, just put foreign stuff in my body that I don't know what it is, you know. And it's not that I don't trust the doctors. It's just the simple fact that this one alone needs more research. It just needs more research is all. And I don't see how that's a crazy thing to say. I just don't understand those people.
Exactly. And then you're getting pushed in this, oh, you're anti-vaccine or you're a conspiracy theorist. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just being critical towards my health, and I wanted to make it better collectively. That's basically what you're doing by saying that.
Yeah, there's people, too, that are like, well, wouldn't you feel bad if you gave the virus to someone? It's like, I didn't create this. It's such a ridiculous argument. Like, you're implying that, like, I created this virus, put it in my body, and then deliberately gave it to somebody. Like, that's not what happened. It was given to me. You know what I mean? And, like, I'm just defending the people out there that, like, get the backlash for like, not taking it. And then that's the argument. Like, it's just a ridiculous one. If you think about it, it's like this virus was obviously, created organically or whatever. It wasn't one single person that created this. So you can't go and blame people. You just can't blame. The blame game's not the way to
It just happens.
Yeah. We need solutions.
And it became a political game, and it doesn't become a health discussion anymore, but now it's political. Like, we get caught up in our ideology, and we're like, that's not the debate we should be having.
Yeah.
It's not about left, right, what I said, anti, or it's like, how can we collectively make our society healthier? And we're not having that debate at all. We're not debating about that.
Yeah. I think that at least everyone, just try to challenge yourself to go to all sides, especially if you're so stuck on one side and in a biased opinion. Like, if you believe that you're listening to the right scientists, find a scientist that contradicts it. Do it. It's the best thing you could do for your mind. You'll start to realize that there is a whole other narrative out there. And there's facts out there on both ends. So who knows who's right? I have no clue. Like, I keep my mind completely open. But, like, I could tell you without a doubt that there's compelling arguments on both sides. And, we got to take both sides serious. Until they hash it out, like, who knows the truth?
Instead of, again, being caught up in your own ideology, and when someone questions your belief, then you feel personal attacked, and then people get like even pushed back even further. But instead of being open-minded and having that debate or discussion.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, it's torturous to be the person that's like trying to force your opinion on everyone. Like, if you learn to just like let go of your opinion, try to just listen to everyone's side with an open mind, with intention, that really shifts perspectives. It makes things easier on everybody. In fact, like, I've been sitting with this saying for a couple of weeks now, but I bought the book of Meditations from Marcus Aurelius. He has a thing in there. I think it's very compelling. He says, he really gets into detail about how bad people are. People lie, cheat, steal, screw themselves over, screw family over, they murder. We do really, really bad things. But if there's anything in this world worth doing, it's to be good and to be patient with those who aren't. And, like, that's really the key to life right there. Just try to be the good person, and if there's a person being mean to you, just be patient with them. Show them you could be better, and, like, that's where, like, we don't always have to force what we think on others. Like, it's not worth that battle for anybody. It's just going to make it harder on you and the other person. So just be good.
And you're going to be the same if you're going to do that. It's weird as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, I don't know, dude, like, it's not easy to be good all the time. Of course, like, we want, like, if we see, like, someone saying wrong shit, like, everyone wants to jump up and correct them, but, like, question yourself at that moment. Try to stop, think, like, is this worth it? Usually isn't, especially for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what I realized. Like, it's not worth the fight. Most of the time people aren't going to listen.
But there are some gray and weird areas with being open-minded and having an opinion, because there are people that believe that the earth is flat, and most of the people are going to push their opinion like, dude, just think, So in that case, it's kind of difficult. Like, how do you deal with those people? And Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about this a lot, which is pretty cool. Like, I don't try to convince people anymore because it doesn't work anyway. But I just trying to give them tools to think for themselves instead of going down the rabbit hole of debating.
Yeah,
a person like that, because it's not gonna work anyway.
No, it won't. Like, yeah, it typically, if a person is like really, really standing firm on their ground, yeah, you're not getting through. It's not going to happen. Like, you've experienced paradigm shifts. They're very unique. They happen randomly. This is not something that you could, like, just give to somebody. If a person is going to shift their perspective, that's going to happen within them. And so trying to force your opinion on them or be like, oh, you're wrong, like, it's going to just push them back further. It's never.
Exactly. It's going to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the longer people hang on to their beliefs or ideology, and then when the paradigm shift happens, like, that moment is always bigger. That's the cool thing about the paradigm shift. Like, the more one-sided or close-minded you are, the bigger the paradigm shift is going to be, which is pretty cool always.
Yeah, it's so profound, isn't it? Like, it's like this whole, like, oh my God, my world, I know who I am now. It's like, you just wake up. It's like, oh my God, I've been under a rock all my life, and like.
Exactly.
Yeah, you should, I mean, to me, like, I strive for those. I know you do as well. Like, I wish everyone did. Like, I really, really try to challenge myself on, like, how I think all the time to make sure that, like, I'm not in the wrong. Like, going back to, like, the vaccine, I was playing devil's advocate with myself and saying, like, I know that, like, it's not bad. I know it for a fact, because, like, that would be me going against every scientist in the world the whole entire scientific community going against them, which is kind of crazy to think. You know what I mean? But at the same time, not all of them are saying like, they're not all agreeing. It's because that's not science. But like the main thing I'm getting at here is that like I'm trying to make sure I'm not lying to myself and I'm not staying stuck in my own opinion, or my biased opinion mainly, because like I want to make sure that like what information I feed my mind, that like if this person's saying this, what's the opposite, and then I could use my logic about it. You know what I mean? So like when I was thinking about the scientists, I'm like, I got to take all of them serious. Like I can't just like shove them off to the side because I don't believe them. I got to take that serious too.
Exactly, and we've been talking about the ego as well. You need to let that go to admit that you were wrong in the past. People often don't want to contradict themselves because that's a scary thing, or then they're like, I have to admit I was wrong. But that's actually a beautiful thing. It's meaning you're growing or being open to new perspectives, like contradicting yourselves from last year or even yesterday, or even during a debate. Like someone convinces you like, oh shit, you're actually right. Okay, I'm going to contradict myself. But hey, that's a good thing because then I'm learning.
Yeah, like that is the hardest thing in the world to do to yourself. But like if you do that, I want to talk about liberation. Like you liberate your mind there. You start to realize that you don't have to fight a fight that was like invisible. Like especially when you're wrong. And like your subconscious usually knows it. You're like, I'm fighting this even though I know I'm wrong, but I still got to fight it because I just can't admit that I'm wrong. It's like, let it go.
It's the same with apologies. When you, I don't have this often anymore, but as a kid, like you would do something wrong and you were too proud to say I'm sorry about it, because then you will admit that you were wrong in that situation. You would just like act there's nothing going on. But actually, if you would apologize, it would be better on both sides. They were like, hey, this is nice, he's apologizing, and then you could let go of as well instead of like, no, I'm not apologizing because then I'm wrong. It's kind of funny how that works. And it's the same thing with debating about a topic. So
yeah, it's very it just really is liberating to admit that you're wrong, to admit that you've messed up. It's good for the internal dialogue, because now you're not storing it in and you can let it go. And you realize, hey, I make a mistake and I could get better at this. I won't do this again. It's like it's
even admitting when you're not sure. That's well, like maybe I don't know. That's what I love about Graham Hancock. We've talked about him a lot. Big fan of him. Like he admits when he's speculating. He's like, this is the evidence. This is something I don't know, but I think that this happened. Mm-hmm. It's really nice to hear that from people like, I'm not sure, and then just admits it that there's no scientific backup yet.
Yeah, man. Like actually, he's such a beautiful mind. Most of the people Rogan has on, like that's where I really have learned a lot of this from. Is that right there? Like them admitting, I don't know, makes me realize that like I don't know shit. This is the smartest, like to me, way smarter than myself, at least. Like he's saying this, like I need to be doing the same thing. It's the best thing you could do for your head. It just leaves you open to like take it all in.
Exactly. But it's kind of weird how it works with consciousnness or the way we view life. If I'm like saying maybe our world is a manifestation of conscious in material, so we see everything as material, but maybe consciousness was there first. People are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's kind of like woohoo stuff, because they think they know how it works. But I'm not saying that I'm right, but I'm saying there could be a possibility that the way we view the world is completely nonsense. But a lot of people are not open to that idea, or like, hey, that's interesting. Like, I want to explore it, and then afterwards you can still say, I don't agree, but at least explore it and have some fun with it.
Yeah, dude, like I fill my brain with some crazy stuff sometimes where like I have some truths in my head where I'm like, I won't even say it because it's just so ridiculous that I know people will be like, what are you talking about? Yeah. But I don't know, man, like when you open your head and you start to really understand that there's like people in this world that have done like deep research in some crazy subjects. And then when you go read this type of research, we'll say like wormholes, for example. I got really into that in the past couple of weeks, man, and it fucking blows my mind, dude. Blows my mind. And then what they're saying, man, there's like some truths out there saying there's like portals coming to the earth and all. Like I'm like, what the are you guys talking about? They could prove it. Physics could prove it. That like portals are real, that wormholes are real, that you could literally separate space and time and travel from one end to the other, and skip years and years of travel. And like, oh man, like when you think of like matter and all these things in space and the cosmos and all in the universe, like if people were to really get their head out of their small tiny little existence and realize that these things, like, how did this happen? Like, I'm listening to a concept about, the Earth is, we're a vortex. We're chasing the sun, right?
Exactly.
And every year, I'm probably completely off on this number, but I'm going to just say it because I don't remember exactly. We're moving like 6 inches away from the sun, I believe. And it might be 6 feet. It might be whatever. Something like that. And so, there's a time frame where eventually we're going to be Venus. And we're going to be out of, what is that called? The Goldilocks.
The orbit of the sun?
The Goldilocks is what they call it. So the Goldilocks is the sun's warmth. So we will be out of that, and the Earth is just going to go completely frozen. So that's going to happen in time, which is why Elon Musk is so adamant about becoming interstellar beings. Like, there's no way we're going to exist. In fact, dude, like, now that they're going to Mars, there's, like, crazy evidence already coming back of, like, without a doubt, man, there's, like, life there. There used to be, it was Earth-like. And then Venus was
like
Earth-like.
water, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we had 2 planets now that we know that in our past were similar to Earth, that were in the Goldilocks. So when you think about this, it's like we know nothing. Like, we have no clue what has really gone on. Like, this could have been billions of years ago, man. Like, who knows? And there could have been humans there or some other beings. Like, if you really open your mind to this stuff, like, it's truly remarkable and real. It's not fake. It's like, I guess unless you don't believe in space and you're a flat earther, but like, we're all entitled to believe what we want to believe. I'm not saying any of it's
exactly
true. I guess, like, maybe I shouldn't speak in facts, but like when I listen to these guys, man, they got like serious evidence to like back all this stuff up.
And it's funny how we view, like, Elon Musk's mission is to go to Mars, so we are interstellar beings, but I do know that our whole solar system is going to disappear anyway. So sometimes I'm like, what the fuck is the point anyway? Because at one point everything is going to disappear. So it's kind of funny what our motivation is to
Totally.
work towards that.
Yeah, like, I think that it's a good thought. Like, at least we could kind of like dabble with the idea of possibly being internal beings and like living forever, and humans are, whatever, like the dominant species of the galaxy. But like, whatever you want to think, man. But like, yeah, I know you're right, man. Like, our solar system will dissolve. Like, all of it goes away. It's just what happens. Like, it's like how life created is exactly how it's going to get destroyed.
Exactly, and we'll probably get hit by an asteroid before anything happens. So, yeah.
Well, to drop a bombshell on you, man. Like, I've been like really getting into like our past. I watch this stuff like every single day, and so going to Graham Hancock and Robert Stock, they both are Shock. I always say Shock. Excuse me. They both have discovered some crazy stuff, as you know, right? But
and with Randall Carlson as well. Don't forget him.
Yeah, like, Randall Carlson. Yeah, he's huge. And so basically, what they're saying is that like before the Younger Dryas, there was like the catastrophic event. Before that, there was beings on Earth that were far more technically advanced, technology advanced than us, and they were indeed flying around the Earth. That these pyramids that are all around the Earth were power plants. And that they're put around the sphere, the vortex of all the, like, there's our atmosphere that wraps around the Earth, right? And then there's magnetic vortexes that go down into the Earth, and these, like, emit insane amount of energy. In fact, like, we could use it to power our entire Earth. And so there's 12 of them around the Earth that all these pyramids that were there were used to power these things, and that these humans were flying around the Earth. And that there's pretty much, like, evidence, like, without a doubt, that this happened. Like, dude, when you look, they just discovered a new pyramid in Peru. Just discovered this last year, man, and it will give you chills. It is 50,000 years old. So, like, they've already we have not been able to predate any of these things because we can't, like, you can't date stone. You don't. It's a relative.
There's no carbon dating for stone.
Yeah, it's just relative. So, like, they found a basket, dude, and they were able to carbon date it. And I'm like, it just gives me chills thinking about it, dude. Like, this is going to blow history out of the water. And not a lot of people are going to accept this truth. Like, I accept it completely because, like, these are, like, it's like evidence here. Like, this thing was here built by a human 50,000 years ago, and according to our history, we weren't around then. You know, we were dead.
Most of the people won't even accept that like the Sphinx is older than we thought it would be, and that's just on a small scale. And that's why I like Randall Carson. He breaks it down so cool. Like the modern human, like we are, like how our brain is structured and our body is structured, was already there between 150 and 180,000 years ago. The modern human. We have written history like 3,000, 4,000 before Christ, which is like now 6,000, 7,000 years old.
Yep.
Exactly. That's like 7,000 on the scale of
7,000. Yep.
180,000. And look what has happened in the last 5 generations from 1800 to now. Went from freaking, well, the Middle Ages was a bit earlier, but
yeah,
exactly. Went from like the first machines to now our society in like 5 generations in 200 years.
That you and I are talking like this right now. That's
exactly. Imagine. Right? Exactly. Imagine what could have happened in those 180,000 years. We don't know jack shit.
Nope. And like all these catastrophic events have happened in between that time and wiped us out. You know, like, because like, dude, the floods were a fact. Like it really, that's what happened in the Younger Dryas. Like we had catastrophic floods. And basically what Robert Schoch says is that we got hit with solar flares that melted Antarctica overnight, literally overnight. And so we experienced these insane floods, like in 24-hour time frame, and very little humans survived. And it's evidence all around the world.
The cause of the flood, but the cause of the flood is still speculation because Graham says it could be an asteroid. So, but we know that the floods happened, but what it causes, we're not sure yet.
Yeah, you're right.
Hopefully, we'll find out anytime soon.
Well, they have evidence, and unfortunately, they can't really dig here in the United States. But there's evidence that asteroid hit here in the United States. So, like, yeah, you're totally right. I forgot about that. There is that. In fact, like I think there's more evidence pointing towards that than there is Robert Schoch's theory.
True.
So
there were materials found as well. So
yeah,
I'm not sure what it's called, but yeah.
Dude, like these pyramids, I think are so beyond significant because, like, did you know that the Roman cathedrals weren't built by the Romans? That they are far older than the Romans. But it's not like they built the pillars, but it's the platforms under them.
Oh, but that's often the case where you have like a monument that's been worked on.
Exactly.
A new monument was built on an old monument, then it gets all messed up. So it's really hard to date or to know from which civilization it is. So I heard that story. Yeah.
Yeah, this is all of it, dude. Like Egypt was the same. Like the pyramids have been built on. So they're way older. They were started way older, and then same all in South America, dude. Like the Aztec Indians. That's like one to focus on because like they did some crazy stuff, dude. So. Like, when you think about what I just said about Peru, I wish I could remember the name of the pyramid, but this basically predates everything that we know. And, in fact, they are saying that the first humans were in South America, not Africa. That these humans predate Africa. So I'm like, holy crap. So now we're getting into a whole other thing. And, like, it just shows how little we know, dude. That's all it does for me. It's like it's not the fact that like they are right or anybody is right. It's the fact that here's a whole new set of evidence that changed everything. That's it.
Here's an area we don't know anything about. Instead of being in this discussion again, like I'm wrong, I'm right, like that's not the thing we should focus on.
No,
but
it's like there's new shit here. We got look at this. We got look at it.
Instead of I know what it is and then being closed off and not going into or investigating it, you're not gonna make that better. Especially the people that don't agree should look into it.
100%, man. Yeah, that like you're the main people that really should, because if you do this, like you'll really start to understand like how you've shut yourself off from a lot of information. And it's out there.
That's how
man, like,
science can evolve.
To me, like I just really love the pyramid so much because like we don't have any other evidence other than those, right? And like when you have like Punapunku, for example, they took these stones. And I mean, they cut diorite. The only thing that cuts diorite is diamond, first of all. So, like, they took these stones, they drug them across, like, an entire continent. These things are, like, you know...
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, like, we don't have the
biggest
technology...
building.
We don't have the technology to do it to this day. Then, like, what's the most mind-blowing part about it, man, is they put these stones together, and they don't mortar it. And mortaring is, like, what you put in between bricks to get it to stick.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no mortaring, dude. They melt it. They melt like perfect. You can't fit a piece of paper in there. Nothing could go in. Like it is so perfectly in place, and they're 50,000 years old. So we can't lift these stones. We can't cut them this way. We cannot. We have no clue how they did this. No clue. And like, dude, like there is like all kinds of legends all around the world how they did this, but people won't accept it. And what they say is that they did it through frequency and levitation, that they were able to harness frequencies. And I mean, like, are you kind of aware like how significant frequency is, especially to the universe?
Yeah.
Like it created the universe.
Yeah.
So that's how the universe was created. It vibrated at a specific frequency and then boom, blew up. And so like they figured out how to harness these frequencies. And that's what they said a lot of these chambers are in the pyramids, is that they could go in there, they could do these certain chants, and this would, put off this frequency, and that's how they create energy. And they could levitate stones through this. I mean, it sounds crazy. It sounds super crazy, but we've proven it. Like there's scientists that have proven this, that have went and taken this, done studies on it, and lifted balls with like tennis balls. They've lifted them, got them to spin and move with certain frequencies. So we've proven that this is real, that it could really, really happen. So it's not fake. So it's like now this is not a ridiculous idea. Now it's like we could kind of take this a little bit serious. At the same time, and we'll never know.
And what would be the alternative? We don't have an alternative answer as well. So again, it could be wrong, but it could be right as well. But we don't know. But it's worth looking into it, at least. And it's the same with Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. Like we thought that civilization started later, and especially the agriculture as well. But then you have this site that's enormous. Like hunter-gatherers would not do this, so there must have been agriculture earlier in this time. But hey, that's not in recorded history, so it's so weird, and we just don't know.
Yeah, Göbekli Tepe, that one is like the most significant one because there's a lot of evidence there, of like this is, first of all, they know when it was built, somewhat like a relative time, but it's far older than what we dated anything else. And then this is like we were living in caves and like throwing rocks at things. Like we weren't doing that
exactly,
like, according to our history. So like it's
and it backed the argument. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
And it backed the argument of the Sphinx as well, because when Graham was debating the Egyptologist, they were saying the Sphinx. There's no way the Sphinx is that old because there's no other site in the world that dates to that time. So, and then Göbekli Tepe showed up in the exact same time. Mm-hmm. So that was like also the argument, like, okay, now your argument from the Egyptologist doesn't count anymore. So what's next, Mm-hmm. And there's still backup argument for that. So that's pretty cool.
I listened to the Egyptologist, man, and like, dude, it's just so bullshitty. Like now, like when I really listen to him, I'm like, so you guys are claiming that they built the pyramids with fucking sticks and rolled them up a ramp? Like, dude, so Graham Hancock did the math of that. Did you see that? He's like, okay, so one of the rocks, this ramp would have to be 20 miles long.
Yeah.
The ramp.
Where's the ramp? Like, it should be in this fucking sky.
Yeah, it would be massive. Yeah. He said it would be bigger than the pyramid. Way, way bigger than the pyramid. The ramp. Yeah. Like, it's ridiculous. Like it gets debunked like that, And so it's like we got to throw that idea out and start looking at other areas. Like, we really do. Like, we can't just keep saying, like, nope, this is it. Like, it's obvious that there's something else here. So let's just look into it, And, like, that's the way I see it.
And that's like the definition of being close-minded, those Egyptologists. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the point. Like, again, we probably have the dating wrong or the cause wrong or how it happened, but I don't care about that. I'm just opening up the conversation for it. And that's what Graham Hancock does so beautifully.
Yeah.
He says, I'm speculating on certain areas. This is what we know. Hey, but let's open up the discussion.
Well, they have new evidence. Like, it's like, okay, when we propose new evidence, it should open the discussion. Unfortunately, that did the opposite for them. So,
yeah,
like, to me, I'm like, there's already obvious, bias opinion in it. Like, a person just doesn't want to be wrong, which is like going way back to what we were talking about, is like just being a kid and not wanting to say sorry. Like, they literally just don't want to say sorry, is what's going on right now. Yeah. Like, you've been without a doubt proven wrong, and at least in their theory. Not to say that like they're completely wrong, but like your theory needs to be changed, and it's very obvious at this point. It's been challenged,
and that shows vulnerability and strength. It's often combined, but contradicting yourself shows us that you are strong enough to contradict yourself and be vulnerable in that place. Hey, I was wrong, instead of being attached to your ego or your
Totally.
belief.
Yeah, I mean, because like,
Huh?
I think one of the most compelling things, talking about the pyramid, at least like from their stance and where they should really admit they're wrong, is they said these pyramids were built for like tombs. We have never, ever, ever found a dead body in any of them. Never. And like, so.
Or not even a reverence to a dead body or anything that has anything to do with it.
Not even
like
close.
Nothing.
Yeah, like they're like, we found pharaoh tombs nowhere near the pyramids, nowhere near them. And so, like, yeah, dude, like, when you have all that, like, obviously you guys are just, like, making stuff up. And like, the Pyramid of Giza, I can't remember the pharaoh that they credit. I'm always so bad at these names. I learned so much. But there's one pharaoh that they credit to building it. And they have, like, no evidence of, like, he built it at all. Like, and so, like, it's... That idea is being thrown out as well. Like, this guy did not build this.
And probably later modified.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. It's like they took pieces and put pieces on it. Like Alexander the Great, like he has like there's a famous it's not the cathedral, but it's it has like a bunch of pillars around it, and it's kind of a square, like courtyard kind of deal.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
That one, he built the pillars on top of it, but under it, it's far, far older. Far older. And like the stones there are like everyone scratches their head on it. Like, how is this possible? Like,
we're just talking about this, of course. Yeah.
Like it is not even possible that like humans did that stonework back in the day, but like it predates. It's way further back than Alexander the Great. So he was credited to building it, but when they look at it, it's like these stones, like the ones at the bottom are far older. Like, it's just obvious that someone else did it. Which is really interesting, dude. Like, that stuff to me is like, I'm so curious about it. Like, I don't know if you've seen these caverns and caves they've been finding all over the world, dude. Like, I showed you those churches, right? That were built into the mountain. Like, they dug down into the mountain and did it. And, like, so they went over those, dude, and, like, they have to, like, pull the stone out. Like, how would you get the stone out? And they're like, where is it? Like, it is such a curious thing, right? But there's things out there that like pale in comparison. So there's a cave that they just found in China, and it is like, holy shit, dude. And like, you see all the stonework, like they cut all the way into the mountain, like all the way deep, and then beautiful carvings, massive pillars. It hold like 50,000 people. It is so massive. I'm like, how could you possibly do this? And like, China is unique because they have their history. They wrote down their history for 3,000 years. But there's no history of this. So it's obviously older than that. And like, this is just one speck.
3,000 compared to the 180,000 of the time that the humans were here is so insignificant basically, which is crazy.
Yeah, dude. Like, I think without a doubt we've just been pelted with asteroids and crazy weather, and things have just happened and erased a lot of our knowledge.
And it makes us fragile as fuck, basically, knowing that it could be over like this. One chrono mass injection and we will be done, Yeah,
you better hope that shit hits you on the head. You don't want to be the one surviving. I wouldn't want to be. Man, you imagine the surface of the earth just burning everywhere you go? Like, what are you going to do? How would you fucking eat, man? There's humans that survive that. That shows our resilience, if you ask me.
Yeah, man.
Like, how did humans survive, like, mass floods? Holy shit.
Well, there's a lot of underground, or not a lot, but some underground evidence as well that people went underground to survive. Go below the surface to, even in the the time when the earth was covered in ice, like, where the hell do you live? Well, probably below the surface.
Well, I'm going to go back and correct you and say that there is a lot. There's a lot, man. A lot of evidence of people going underground, especially in Europe, where you live, dude. Like, they literally have tunnels that are ancient people built, like, all that you could go from one end of Europe to the other, underground. And, like, we didn't build this shit.
That's crazy.
It's so interesting to me, man. Have you ever, like, learned about Pleiades at all? Have they talked about
Pleiades?
What? Pleiades, the constellation Pleiades?
No?
I'm surprised you haven't heard about it, because, like, virtually all of our ancient people write about it and say that's where we came from. I'm not kidding.
What's the constellation called in English or in Dutch? I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm really bad at constellation, the name in English.
It's Pleiades. That's all I know of it, man. So yeah, I'm not sure, dude. But
I will look it up afterwards. I probably know, but
I'm surprised you haven't heard about it yet, because like it's, I'm not even kidding you, dude. Like the Chinese wrote about it, the Koreans wrote about it, the Japanese wrote about it, the Mayans, the Aztecs wrote about it, the Europeans wrote about it, the Irish wrote about it. Like it goes on and on and on. The Native American Indians from the U.S. wrote about it, that we come from Pleiades. We come from that constellation. Like how did all of our ancient people write the same thing?
Yeah, it's such a coincidence. Probably not, but in our eyes, that
it's it's a very interesting thing to think about. And have you heard of the book Enoch, the Book of Enoch?
Yeah.
You hear about the history of that, like, and what happened with that?
Yeah.
It's like 1700 years ago. Like they all, the whoever was in charge of the religion back then or whatever, like wanted to like change the narrative, and they talked about like how like that was like the first smearing of like history, and that they took the Book of Enoch out of the Bible, and it's because the Book of Enoch explains that we came from the stars. It says that we came from the heavens and we came here to earth, that we're not from the earth. And like, who knows, dude? I'm not saying any of this is true, but I'm just like, why are we throwing this shit out, man? Like, I want to hear about it.
Exactly.
And like,
it's the same with Plato writing about the floods already, like 2,000 years ago. He was writing about Atlantis specifically, about where it was, about the floods, about the dating of the floods. And the dating of the floods, since we've checked, were correct or lining up with the dates we're finding out what Plato said. So that's crazy as well. Same with Göbekli Tepe, like all those dates line exactly up when Plato said when the floods were and the Younger Dryas would end. And that's maybe even the story of the Bible and the Ark of Noah, right? Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of similarities in that as well that we kind of ignore, but
it's all
that's
like
crazy.
They all say the same stories. They just twist them. The Bible says the same story as the Aztecs, as the Mayans. It's just the Bible says, we came from God. But where'd God come from? The heavens. Where's the heavens? Is above. And that's like what all of our ancient people said. They said the same thing. But they said these people come down from the heavens. And like the Bible even explains stuff like this, like angels coming down. And in the Book of Enoch, they talk about the fallen angels coming down. And so, but they say that they're extraterrestrials, that they're actually intergalactic beings. So like, I don't know, dude, like obviously it sounds nuts. Sounds super crazy, but it's not a ridiculous, like it's just not something that I think we should just throw away and like be like, this is crazy, this is stupid.
And a cool thing, Graham already said this 30 years ago, and now evidence is coming in and he's slowly building this narrative that seems to be correct. And that's the cool thing as well, that he was probably already right 30 years ago and he was getting so much backlash, and now the narrative is changing. It's
a really hard one. Like, and I get it, man. Like, I really, really, truly understand, because, like, some of the stuff that I learn, I'm like, this is fucking crazy. Like, this is just way crazy. It's too much for my brain. But, like, I don't know, man. I think we all question it, right? And, like, so it's definitely good that we got another narrative coming in, and like, Graham Hancock's actually making a voice and like, at least being heard, finally. Because that's what I want to see. I want to see some debates go on with this stuff. Like, we don't need to just believe one thing.
And even in general in life, like, you could translate this to everything. Same we were discussing with health and doctors, vaccination or no vaccination, alternative history or not. Like, don't throw it out of the window just like that. But,
So important, dude.
Open up.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we all need more of that, especially now. Like, right now, we all just need to open up.
Exactly.
Love more, be good more. Take all the information, especially the stuff you hate. Take it with a smile.
Yeah.
Be the bigger person. If you're doing it for someone else, great, but trust me, it's going to be for yourself. It's going to be for yourself. Exactly. Like, you are going to feel so much better when you stop trying to fight for your truth.
Yeah, man. I think it's a good note to end the podcast on that one.
Let's do it, man. Sounds good. Good as always, man.
All right, thanks for listening, and I hope the video will work this time.
We got this one. Thank you, folks.
All right.
Be back.
Later.